All right. Just checking our tech specs, making sure yes, we are on, we are live. So, for those of you who are watching this or listening to this later as a pod, welcome. And to all my regular viewers and listeners, it's good to be back. And of course, if you happen to be here for the very first time, welcome. And of course, before I go any further, my name is Rahul George, India's premier self hypnosis coach and your personal guide. So it took me a little bit of a detour today to get to this point where I was able to actually connect with the topic that I've created for you today. And even if my voice happens to sound a little tired, or if I seem to be a little tired, it's sort of like a yes and no, right? One is, of course, it is towards the end of the night that I'm recording this. But as always, this is something that I'm doing for myself at one level, which is to record a live broadcast every night. So that's why, for me, that's a no-brainer. So regardless of what time I woke up in the morning, I made it a point that, like before, and more so now, that I'm definitely recording this pod and then go to bed, right? So, if you've already seen what is the topic, it started with flow, right? So there is the art and there is the science of flow. And I was thinking about that. And for a moment, I kind of got caught in um, the scientific study of flow, and I started to kind of have questions, um, because I knew that if I had to just only focus on the science and the art of flow, things would kind of drop off, right? So it took me a while to kind of keep working the headline, working the topic, because it is true. Like, flow is something that I wanted to talk to you about. But what was interesting was when I think I must have spent at least about a half an hour, 45 minutes focusing on it. And then I paused for a second. I said, okay, obviously there's something um, that's blocking me from just, hitting the record button and going live. And so when I started to just be present to that, that is when the that's actually when the topic popped up, right? So the topic is surrender to your highest potential, right? How allowing can lead to flow. So, firstly, of course, if you stuck around for the last so many minutes while I was kind of like getting into the flow to be able to tell you about today's pod, um, thank you, for especially for those of you who are watching this live. And as you can tell, like, these pods are not designed to be fast paced. These pods are designed to be, maybe listen to while you're doing something. So you're kind of like multitasking, and then what I'm saying to you will come to you in the way that it's meant to. But of course, if you feel really connected to my style of delivery, what I'm saying, and that if you are really truly getting value out of this, I want to thank you for finding this pod out there in the in the vast universe of the internet. We all know what that feels like. So I want to thank you for watching this live. I want to thank you for listening to this to the end. Um, Today, of course, like I said, this is a really, really powerful topic, right? Surrendering. And maybe if this was something that you needed to hear, right, this word, and um, to really meditate on this word, to surrender, um, I can tell you that this word has literally, traveled the length and breadth of my adult life. And at different points in time, I have, found myself fighting it, and then eventually accepting it, but in a way where it is not it's not passive, right? So it's like actively being present, actively being aware that yes, I am surrendering to something bigger, to something more mystical, more magical than my human beingness can understand, right? And I know that if you're sticking around here listening to this, you do also think on these lines in your own life. So that's when today, as I was writing, as I was reflecting on this, remember, these pods are absolutely extempore, right? For me, it's more about just reflecting on my life, on the conversations that I have with my clients, conversations that I have with my friends, conversations that I have with people who matter to me, right? Now, that could be the lady who works in my house, um, who washes the dishes. Like, she's also important. It could be a client. It could be a prospective client. Um, it could be my wife, right? The important thing here is that this is where I've started to recognize that all of these conversations every day have a deeper meaning, and the more I'm starting to be present to it, that is what I'm starting to notice is now starting to reflect, starting to flow into my work. And especially if you're a digital coach, meaning that you're a coach who is on this journey of wanting to be able to literally maximize your market value, which means that you're able to charge people um, for the value of your magic that you're bringing into their lives, and where you're doing it in a way where it is not being triggered by greed, it is not being triggered by fear or by a sense of lack, but instead where you're truly being able to connect to yourself, and you're able to connect to your literally like your most powerful beliefs rather than your negative beliefs, right? Because we all have those negative, those limiting beliefs that make us feel like, yeah, I'm not capable of such and such, right? Fill in the blanks. So for me, this is a reminder that I, you know, rather than trying to prepare, it's just about being present, which is why sometimes the pace of these pods may be a little slow. Sometimes it may take me a little bit of time to kind of pick up steam. And remember, these are completely unedited, right? Usually, when you watch podcasts, when you listen to podcasts, right? Today we can do both. Um, a lot of them tend to have a degree of like to an extent they will be edited, not like entirely, but to an extent. Here, this is absolutely unedited. So, one, of course, I want to thank you for actually listening to it. As always, there are different ways to listen to these pods and watch these pods, because when you're finally watching it, unless, of course, you're watching it live right now, but otherwise, when you're finally watching it, you can always speed it up. That's something that I have found that really helps, right? Depending on the app, you can do a 1.5, 1.75, sometimes even a 2x, where you're able to get the essence of what I'm saying if my speed is not up to your speed, right? On the other hand, if you enjoy this deliberated, I'm really kind of mulling every word so that it can be of value to you. Um, thank you if that is something that connects with you, right? So back to the topic, right? So thank you for being willing to listen to me speaking at the speed and the pace at which I am, because truly, like today, this is a topic which I don't want to speed through it. I want to be deliberate about it so that it will help you in your life in the coming days, especially as a digital coach, where you're really looking to find meaning in why you're doing what you're doing, right? Especially when you're looking to create a business out of it. All right. So let's go into this, right? So when when I'm talking about surrender, like I said, this is something that I've come to recognize that um, it's something that I've struggled a lot with in the past, but finally I've made peace with it. And interestingly enough, when I was doing a little bit of research and I typed the word um, letting go and flow, like what is the correlation between letting go and flow, right? That was literally so my research prompt was the connection between allowing and flow, right? And I was blown away because what came back was surrender, which is exactly what I've been of late more and more reflecting on, right? So with my group, um, meaning I have a paid membership for those of you who are regular, viewers and watchers in my Facebook group as well, right? The Facebook group is called Self Hypnosis Mastermind, and of course, if you happen to be literally like watching it here, whether it's on Facebook or watching, listening on YouTube, what's more important is that this is one thing that I keep reminding them. It is all about being effortless. Now, the only way, as I understand it, that you can truly be effortless is when you are, when you are willing to surrender, when you are willing to connect to something that is far greater than you, far, deeper than you. So my question to you is, you know, especially as a digital coach, would you be willing to literally, as the expression goes, embrace the unknown? Would you be willing to to be open to possibilities, right? And if you are, I can promise you this, having been around now for some time, that your life will change, right? If you're willing to be open to, and like literally like say, okay, I know that I don't know everything, and I'm willing to let that come into my life, right? So, you'll end up having conversations with completely random people, or people will call you like literally from out of the blue, and you will be engaging in conversations that you couldn't have consciously planned. And that's not a bad thing. It just means that you're now in sync with the universe, right? And when you do this, and when, and I'm saying you because that's something that I find myself already doing more and more each day, right? I'm noticing this in my renewed practice of actively meditating every day. I'm noticing this in, like, for example, today I was walking in my, uh, where I live in the apartment complex. And as I was walking, literally a temple tree flower just fell right, like a barely a foot in front of me. Now, normally, this is something that most of us take for granted, but it just felt so like right in the moment. And so I picked that up, and you know, when I came back home, I put that into a bowl of water. In fact, once this pod is up and running, I'll also share that on social. Just, and of course, if you happen to see it, you'll have a deeper reference. Um, my point being that, as you can tell, this is a really, really beautiful place to be, and you know, I'm in no rush to go ahead. And if you're drawn into this energy, we're meant to be in this energy together. So, especially at this point in your life, if you're looking to be able to shift things in your life, just if you're willing to just be present the right people, the right moments, everything will align, and you will find yourself literally like wafting from place to place, from moment to moment. And when you reflect on it a week later, a month later, you'll be in a completely different place, right? So if you were to actually cross reference this to the art and the science of flow, that's exactly what it is, right? There is this whole, there's like a wheel, which I'm sure you can Google it, or ask Google AI, right? Bard, you can ask it to show you that, what is that wheel of flow, right? I think the reference that I had picked up was, give me a moment, let me just, it's basically, the reference between skill and challenge, right? So if you're just willing to allow yourself to be, um, and to surrender, you will more often than not be in that state where you're able to tap into your own skill, and the finesse-ness of your skill, meaning that the good parts of your skill, you're able to connect to that, and you're able to be drawn into challenges, meaning work that is challenging, to the extent where you literally just end up creating absolute magic. And people are drawn into that, right? So, of course, if you're right now at a point in your life where you're able to you're able to experience that, please let me know, because I really want to understand. I want to hear what does your world look like through this lens of surrender, right? Because I know for me it's definitely been a long journey to get here, and I know I'm literally just getting started, right? Because this kind of work that we do as digital coaches, it's important that we continue to keep going deeper, right? And when you do that, that is really when miracles happen. And think about it. There's a reason why people pay us money. It's because they are looking for miracles in their lives. So when we are living a miracle, no surprise that they will want what we have, right? It's like something I always remind my clients, that especially digital coaches who are my clients, I always remind them that you are exactly where they want to be, and you are where, like, it's like you, how do I explain this? You were at a point where they are right now, meaning if they are right now, if your clients, um, say you're listening to this and you have clients as a digital coach, your clients are where you used to be, right? But you made that journey, and that's why you get to be in the present, and they are still learning, right? They are still in that initial stage of absolute frustration, um, like worry, apathy, anxiety, right? Maybe even boredom. And if you notice, I'm literally like reading off this. This is what's called the flow model. So in that, there are these elements. So a lot of times, people are feeling that, while we have kind of moved more into a state of flow. If you're somebody who is looking to do that, who wants to get into that space, I can tell you this: the more you allow yourself to surrender, the more you will receive, right? So, like I said, today is a very different kind of uh, a different kind of pod, but I still want to thank you for those of you who've been watching live. Let me just take a quick look at the comments. I still want to thank you for those of you who've been watching live. Okay. The one thing I'm not able to figure out usually when I do this. Okay. All right. No worries. We shall let the comments be where they are. Thank you for those of you who've commented live. And I will obviously see later who was tuned in here. But I think more importantly, and especially for those of you who are listening to this as a pod, if there's nothing else that you wanted to take away from here, it's like the TLDR, right? Like the short version of today, especially today, is this: wherever you are today, just take this moment to allow yourself to be more with yourself, be, present, be, and when I say be present, just be, like in the practice of listening to your own breathing. That in itself is enough for you to start this process. And when you do this long enough, you'll notice that things start to shift, right? You are slower to react to people around you, to people being a certain way that you may have earlier found offensive, right? So, and also on the flip side, the more you do this, you'll find yourself really tapping into something that's beyond you. And in your conversations with your clients, you will literally be speaking in a language which will surprise you as well, right? Why am I saying all of this? Because that is my reality today, right? And, just to wrap this very special pod, yesterday I was talking about, in the previous pod, I was talking about habits. And this is probably one of those meta habits, which is letting go, which is surrender. When you do that, when you practice that on an ongoing basis, I can promise you this: you will not be the person that you used to be, right? Okay, so like I said, today is a very different kind of pod. Maybe this is, I've also come to recognize that this is literally what was meant to be. So for those of you who are regular listeners, viewers, watchers of the pod, I want to thank you for braving this one. Right, it was completely it took me also by surprise. But as the theme suggests, as the topic suggests, it is all about surrender, and that's precisely what I did. And I showed up, and I shared my heart with you today. And I truly believe that in more ways than one, just making it a habit to listen, to watch content which is more aligned to who you are and who you are wanting to be, in a way that you can truly be able to make a difference in the lives of many, many, many others. That is the process, right? So I want to thank you once again for sticking around. Of course, we will be back tomorrow for yet another pod. So thank you for who you are and what you do. And as always, remember to live with purpose. Before I go, of course, a couple of this is again a way to check like who sticks around till the end. If especially as a digital coach, if you're trying to figure out, like, how do I really maximize my market value, right? Like, how do I charge more? How do I feel good about asking clients for money? How do I feel good about, you know, talking about my value, right? It's not just the money, but it's about the value that, like, I know I'm doing stuff, but how do I talk about it, right? A lot of that has to do with the, the focus on um, your negative self beliefs, right? And my intention is to be able to help you by teaching you about and teaching you self hypnosis so that you can practice this and make that difference in your life. So if this is something that interests you, uh, typically on Saturdays, we do a workshop. I do a workshop which is for 60 minutes. So please treat this as my invitation to come. And definitely, like I was mentioning before, the 22nd, make sure that you do sign up, because after that, this particular workshop will become a paid workshop. However, there is a surprise for those of you who pay and show up and attend till the end. All right. So with that, I'm going to call this one for now. I will be back again in the next pod. Thank you for those of you who listen, those of you who watch, and especially for those of you who comment and share. Because remember, like us, there are enough and more coaches who are really struggling, right? So this is our way of paying it forward. So thank you so much for being here all the way till now. And I wish you an amazing, amazing week ahead, whether this is the beginning of your week or the end of your week. And see you in the next pod. All right. God bless and see you in the next one.